You're experiencing performance anxiety with me, Mark Shea. This week, we feature Marcus John. He's a creative director whose clients include Big Boy from Outkast, Ludacris, Tyra Banks, iHeartRadio, Amazon.com, and so many more. We talk about how he went from giving himself bad haircuts to styling Kevin Hart. We also talk about his new focus, Straightforward Foundation. Marcus tells us what it's all about, why he started it, and the amazing stories he has because of it. Here's Marcus John.
My name is Marcus John, and I am a creative director, fashion coordinator, founder, and executive director in the fashion, creative, art, and medical industry.
Name of the show.
Oh,
the name of the show.
Yeah, and the name of the show is Performance Anxiety.
Sports at all, or?
Yes, I watch basketball, the NBA. I played basketball, football, all that, like in high school and basketball in college and whatnot.
Oh yeah. Who are your teams?
Yeah, so I was raised in Boston, so I'm a big Celtics fan.
Oh, there you go.
And I was raised in Boston and Atlanta, but big Celtics fan over the Hawks. And then I am a Patriots fan, but
oh wow,
it's just they have a lot going on.
Yeah, what do you think about Edelman getting suspended for 4 games?
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
That's man. You know what? I'm kind of shocked. I always thought he was more of the clean cut guy, but you know, I'm a big Alabama fan. I lived in Alabama for years. My wife and my kids were born and raised down there, and my wife, you know, before we got married. She lived down there. Let's see, we moved up here in 2012. I don't know. Okay, for years, you know, she lived down there her whole life until we moved up here.
You should know this.
I know. I know. I pray to God she doesn't listen to these shows. But my kids are all born down there, and my brother went to school at Alabama, so I used to go all the time, and I became a huge Alabama fan. And
where are you from originally?
Oh gosh, let's see. Well, I was born in Texas, and then I moved to New Jersey. Then Virginia, and then back up to New Jersey, and then I went up to RIT for college to study photography, and then came back down to Virginia, New Jersey, and my dad had moved down to Alabama, and I got into a car accident that kind of screwed up my back, and decided now's a good time to go move back with my dad. So that's what I did, and ended up being great. So
yeah,
10 years later, I moved back up to Virginia, and now I'm doing podcasts.
Yeah.
So you said you grew up between Boston and Atlanta?
Correct.
So where were you mainly? I read somewhere your grandfather worked for Brooks Brothers in Boston. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that. Did that get you into fashion and design and all?
So so fashion wise, I feel like it's in my DNA, sort of say, and I know it kind of sounds cliche, but I think just being raised and around a group of well-dressed men, especially my grandfather, to like set the tone, always well-groomed and always, you know, leaving in like a suit. So my entire family is Jamaican. So, you know, putting a suit on is like, this guy means business. He is someone like, you know, especially like during the day when he was born. Or he was living or whatnot, you know, it was like, okay, this guy is legit. And that's how he just always carried himself. And that was like his pride and joy, just really looking distinctive, whether he had like a driver's hat on or like some cool frames. At the time, like square frames are like in trend or whatnot. And he was always like in circles, like just more so circular lenses. And so just always kind of just going against the grain, but making it his own. So so he passed away when I was younger, but just seeing his photos and growing up with just hearing stories, you know, within the family about him. And I was just like, okay, you know, this is how I should kind of carry myself, or, you know, whether it be always staying groomed. And a funny story. So sorry. I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, so I'll get back to your answer.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So getting into fashion professionally, no, but to just really carry myself in a well-respected or distinctive way where I would more so stand out or something would just be distinctive amongst, whether it be like a specific silhouette or cut of a shirt or a pant or whatever the case is. Okay. So just knowing that and having my DNA, but I was professionally introduced or got into the fashion industry maybe like as soon as I graduated high school.
Okay. How did that come about?
Yeah. So I was I was in high school in Atlanta, and at the time you had like your cliques and your posses and the crews or whatnot. You know what I mean? So I had my own, and so ever since middle school, I would always win. We used to have like superlatives, most funniest, best looking, whatever the case is. Although I was gypped on best looking every single year. But
you know what? I like to think the same thing. You were gypped every year. Me, not so much. You maybe.
No, but I did win best dressed twice. So I won best dressed twice, and I won most likely to succeed. That was really random for me to win. And I think I won that because I always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I used to cut hair. In school. So I used to cut hair.
Like I started good or like you're like had the.
I used to get paid.
Well, that's good. I mean, you didn't make people look like Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber, did you?
No, right, not purposely, at least. But yeah, so I started cutting hair, funny enough, at the age of 11, right? So this once again goes to, so we're from, like a lower class community and whatnot. So I always liked looking good, but my mother couldn't always afford to get my hair cut every single time that I wanted it, or at least have like a fresh lineup.
I know how you feel. Take a look at me, man. I look like one of the Oak Ridge Boys from the 70s at this point. I need a haircut badly. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's cool. It's good. It fits you though. It fits you well. Yeah, it's like the scruffy look, the sexy scruffy look.
Oh, there you go. I'm gonna isolate that, and I'm gonna play that whenever I'm feeling bad. I'm gonna put that on my phone, and Marcus John, it looks good on you.
See, all you gotta do is unbutton 2 of those buttons and just put a little lotion, a little oil on your chest.
All right. Well, listen. I don't have the oil right now, but wait a second. Wait. I might have oil right here. I have a stress release eucalyptus tangerine body lotion from one of my wife, I hope. Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
So you were saying.
Started cutting hair.
Back to you.
So my sister bought me my first clippers, and my mother was just very confused as to why she would buy an 11-year-old pair of clippers.
I would be too, to be honest with you.
But that's what I wanted. Like literally, that's what I wanted for Christmas. So she purchased that for me for Christmas, and I just started cutting my hair. I jacked my hair up very bad for the first like 5 times, like really bad, like. And my mother was the type of mom where she would just allow me to still go to school. She wouldn't take me to the barber to correct my hair.
Right.
She was like, no, you did it. You're going to deal with it. And there you go. Right there. You're going to school, no hat, no anything. And in high school, every so often you can have hat days.
Right.
So I would just pray for hat days. You know what I mean? I would pray for hat days, but then it would last like a week. A jacked up haircut. But
I like your mom.
So yeah,
because that's me as a parent. You know what? You messed it up. You got to live with it. Yeah, because I can't afford to go fixing everybody's mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like you do the crime, you do the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I started experimenting. A group of friends of mine who were really cool. And I knew I would jack my hair, but I knew I needed more practice. But there's only so much you can do. When your hair is messed up, you can't keep messing it up because you're just going to just go bald.
Yeah,
You just have to shave your entire head. So I influenced and I convinced a group of friends, hey, let me practice on you. It's a free haircut. Jacked the hair up a couple times. And then I eventually, honestly, started getting better. So then this was maybe 2 months, and maybe 3 times a week. Just keep going.
Wow.
And I became good. Right.
That, to be honest with you, at that age, having that many people come to you in a week, that's really.
Well, it was like, it was in rotation. So it was like maybe 3 or 4 friends in rotation.
Yeah. But I don't think I had that many friends that would be willing to let me do anything. I mean,
I was always the leader of the pack, and I was like, "Listen, this is a great idea. Like, you're gonna get your hair cut."
That's crazy.
And, just
most kids, 11 years old, they want when I was a kid, I was like Nintendo. I don't know what it is now, PlayStation something or other. You got clippers.
Yeah. iPhones
That's
now,
crazy.
right?
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah. But I mean, I would get cursed. My mom would get cursed out by their parents. You know what I mean? Why did your son do this to my? Yeah, it was a long story, but I just kept going. And long story short, so I always had an entrepreneurial mindset, and I started cutting hair, and then from there, I was also airbrushing in high school.
Okay.
So yeah, there's been a couple of times where I got suspended for cutting hair, for making money on school grounds.
They should have been happy. You weren't doing it. You're cutting hair. You're making people look good.
Exactly.
Kinda.
Yeah. Kinda. Yeah.
It could have been so much worse.
Eventually, it could have been.
Yeah.
It definitely could have been.
You want to speak? You know what? It's funny because thinking about that, and this is just, I don't know why this popped into my head, but speaking of high school and horrible things happening in high school, I graduated in 1991 in high school. So my time in high school, talking about bad things, people doing bad things in high school, my high school had a smoking patio for the students. I'm not even making that up. I'm serious. You supposedly had to be 18 to go, but nobody, they didn't stop you. I mean, they were the freshmen, 14-year-old kids sitting there. You had a pack of smokes. You go out there and you smoke between classes. Yeah. And there you are. You're cutting somebody's hair. You're trying to make them look good, being entrepreneurial, and you're getting in trouble. Well, meanwhile, some jackwagon in New Jersey is sitting there smoking his face off. Education today is not what it used to be. Anyway, I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. So you're cutting hair in school, getting in trouble.
Yeah.
But only, there goes my dog. I don't know if you could hear that. So you decided, is that how you decided to get into fashion, or because you ended up going to GSU, right? Was it?
Yes.
Okay. So
after high school, so back to the story.
Yeah.
I knew I was on to something.
No rush.
So back to the story. We had, like I said, we had like our own crews or whatnot, and someone from like another crew, which we never spoke, but people, we all knew of one another, but it was never like, oh, we're friends. It was almost like, I actually love ice cream. Yeah, no problem. So it was like, we're not going to talk to each other, but we know each other, and we know, like what's going on, who they are, whatever. So long story short, this is when at the time Def Jam, the record label, was giving out like just, like they were giving out contracts after contract and signing people or whatnot, and young kids, especially like in Atlanta. I went to school in Atlanta. So he was signed to Def Jam at the time, and he was, basically had people come up to me like, yo, such and such just got signed, he's looking for a stylist, and I'm like, I knew nothing of the business at all. All I knew was being a tailor. And at the time, now it's like a tailor and like a dressmaker or a garment maker they're like different now for some reason. But back in the day when my grandfather was working for Brick Brothers, a tailor meant that you made suits, not like altered. So, but now it's just like, oh, I tailor, but you kind of do alterations. But yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
So he was like, so finally he comes up to me and was just like, hey, I know you probably know, I just got signed, kind of flexing his muscles just a bit, whatever. And I was like, okay. I acted as if I didn't know that though. I was like, oh, you did? Oh, congrats. That's cool. But, why are you telling me this? Yeah. Like, why are you, like, who cares?
Yeah.
So,
that's no big deal.
So anyway,
I'm about to get signed too.
Yeah. So then he was like, and my management asked me if I had a stylist. Because at the time, he didn't have a manager, and they kind of, gave him a manager or whatever.
And how old was he at this point?
He was 8. So we were like 17, 18.
Who was 18 years old and has a stylist?
I don't know. I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't know what a stylist was. Yeah, so it went right over my head.
So I like sign somebody. Let's say I'm a record producer. I find an 18-year-old kid. I think the last thing I'm going to ask him is, "Do you have a stylist?" I'm going to assign one to him, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, once you're in that business, I can see a Justin Bieber at that 18 having a stylist and all these newer acts. I can see it, but to say, oh, I don't know, or probably their parents or their older brother, Justin, I don't know. So anyway,
my grandma.
Yeah, or grandma. Yeah,
that was my stylist back when I was 18. That was mine.
So then he was like, I didn't know what a stylist was. So long story short, 2 months of me just kind of BSing them and just putting them off because I just honestly didn't know I can get paid for dressing someone. He was just, so I was like, so how do you even want to look? Like, I'm just confused because now I'm asking questions as, so why are you so persistent to ask me to style you? So then he was just like, honestly, man, I just want to look like you. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's very easy. If I'm getting paid to make someone look like me.
That's fantastic.
Cool. Wow. Like, let's do it. Yeah. So I started working with him. I was styling him. And then from there, just getting introduced to this. So he would go to like an award show and I was styling for the award show. And then someone would, oh my gosh, where's your suit from or whatever he was wearing at the time. And then he was always good because he would be like, oh, you got to ask my stylist. And he was, so not to say he was always looking out for me, but because he didn't pay attention to labels or suits or knew nothing of it, he had to ask me.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
So it wasn't like he was trying to like promote me or he was just more so like, oh, I don't know, ask my stylist kind of thing.
Okay. That makes sense.
With doing that, I was able to make some connections at such an early young age. But I kind of got pigeonholed because I was styling a lot of hip hop artists. And at the time it was, them more so dressing all alike or very similar. So if a trend was in this, although he was dressing like me, he would want, and it was almost like a struggle, like tug of war a bit. Like if he's seen someone like at this specific time in Atlanta, I think it was like 2005, everyone had like white tees on. There was like a white tee craze. And then it was like Louis Vuitton belts. And then it was like Levi jeans. And so it was like, I don't dress like this anymore. So I kind of, the money wasn't all like, it was good, especially being at 18 years old and coming from cutting hair and airbrushing, you know what I mean? So it was great actually at that age, but it was just, I kind of was pigeonholed because I feel like my creativity just started plummeting. And, I then went to a high fashion event and I saw this girl and her name was Erica Bogart. I'm gonna say her name because she doesn't know the story actually. But so she's a makeup artist. Beautiful, like very, like extremely attractive. She's Italian, I believe. Extremely attractive. I was very intimidated to speak to her, right? But I knew I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what to say. Like your regular guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, should I throw like a carrot at her? Like, I don't know. How do I get her attention? So anyway, so she comes up to me and so she compliments me on a pair of shoes I was wearing at the time.
Oh,
and then I was just like, oh, nice. But it was a quick compliment. It wasn't like a full on, conversation. Then I just kind of kept asking questions over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she was like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm a stylist. And she was like, oh, I'm a makeup artist. And I was like, oh, great. I was like, that's amazing. I was like, we should collab. So then she was like, yeah, do you have any of your work on you? And I didn't have it on my phone, but I was like, this is when I had a Palm Pilot, actually.
Hey, see that guy over there? That's my work.
I know, right? Yeah. But this was where I was I wasn't with my artist.
Okay.
Myself. So
you should have taken him everywhere you went.
Oh, I know, right? But at this time, I didn't even like bragging about adjusting anymore because he was just so kind of caught up in the trends. So she was just like, oh, here's some of my work. And she had like a portfolio with her and she was styling stuff for Vogue. For Esquire magazine, which was huge at the time.
Wow.
Details magazine, things like that, like more so on the editorial high fashion side.
Okay.
And I didn't even want to show her my portfolio because I had no professional images. Mine was just more so like, shots of him getting ready for an event, things of that nature, but it wasn't like really professional portfolio driven shots or whatever.
Right.
So when I saw that, I was just like, she's like, we have to work together. And I was just like, I was like, I don't know.
That's where you got a little performance anxiety right there.
Yeah, definitely got performance anxiety. And then she was just like, no, we should work. So she actually called me the next morning and she called me. I remember like, it was like 7 a.m, which was super early, right? And I'm like, I thought it was like a butt dial, right? I thought it was a butt dial. And I'm like, and so I answered. I was like, hello? She was like, hey, Marcus? I was like, yeah. She was like, hey, this is Erica. Just wanted to tell you it was great meeting you. Super professional. Just wanted to tell you it was great meeting you. Once again, when you get some of your work, send it over to me, looking for, hopefully we can make some work together, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, I really got to get like my stuff together. So anyway, and I told her, so I had a meeting with her. We grabbed like a drink. This was now I was like 21 where I can actually drink. And she's a little older than me. So she was like 24, 25. And I just kept it real with her. I was like, listen, I don't have a impressive portfolio like yourself, but I feel like I have vision. And she was just like, okay, listen, we have a test shoot coming up, meaning like this is a practice shoot. Mm-hmm. And they pitch it to other publications or whatever the case is for, to submit it to see if we can get featured.
Okay.
And so I just kept test shooting with her. And she was always like, oh, this is great. This is great. And the photographers, this is great, or whatnot. And that's what really was my introduction to fashion. And that's what built my confidence. And funny enough, from me styling that first guy to say 21 to like, even now, it just flipped because now 90% of my clients are females, where I was scared to even style a woman because different shapes, different body parts, different everything. So
I don't even like picking clothes out for my wife. And she's like, hey, go find me a blouse. I'm like, blouse?
What's a blouse? Yeah.
How about this blue shirt? So,
yeah.
So I'm impressed by that alone. So
yeah.
So
that was
So you go from that, and how old are you at that point?
So when I first started, when I started taking myself seriously, like 20, maybe 21, 22.
And is this after college?
So this is during college.
During college. Yeah. Okay, so you went to Georgia State.
Correct.
And all right, go Panthers. So let's see. You didn't. If I remember correctly, you told me you did not go to school for design.
Correct.
So what did you go to school for, and why not design?
I didn't even want to go to school. So my sister forced me to go to school. My sister forced me to go to school. I was one of those kids where I was like, shoot, I'm working for the artist and like the record label, and like, I got my own clients and da-da-da. Why do I need school? And, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, and I couldn't go into design school because I felt like I didn't even apply, but I felt like I wouldn't get accepted because I didn't know how to draw. And I thought you would have had to draw in order to be a designer.
That so I just
was associating, but like now you got like Photoshop, all this type of digital things you can do. But I thought it was, you have to have pencil, paper, you have to be able to draw. But so anyway, so I went to school for business marketing, and I'm just self-taught with everything.
Well, it sounds like going to school for business and marketing was a great idea. So
yeah, I remember 2 classes though from my entire college career. I remember, one of them actually was business communications, where my teacher would force me to speak in front of like, was it like a high five? I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
no, I'm joking. But I was like, all right, I'm with it.
I got a fly buzzing around. But I like the high five idea too. That was good. That was better.
So and she would always just force me to speak in front of, like, at the time it was, all right, students. I think we had a class of 60 in the auditorium. Pick, raise your hand if you want to present first. Of course, no one raised their hand.
Oh yeah.
And then right.
I know that one.
I felt like she would always single me out. I don't know why. It was like 3 times where she called on me first. Oh. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I hate this woman. But it ended up being, still to this day, one of the only teachers that I keep in contact with out of my entire college career.
Really? Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know what you mean, because that's one of the reasons I got into photography, was because I was kind of shy and I like being behind the camera and not the focus of the camera. And so I felt like I loved photography. I loved taking photos. I loved and it's funny because I didn't really love showing them to people, but I got a lot of encouragement from my family and from my art teachers in school, and I thought it was going to be this awesome experience going to school for photography, and it was the worst thing ever. I thought it was going to be like, hey, I'm going to be with this group of people like me, and we're all going to be teaching and learning from each other, and it's not. It's you taking an insane amount of photos. And this is back before digital photography. So You know, every assignment, like shoot 10 rolls of film on such and such a subject. And I'm broke. And I'm like, I can't afford 10 rolls of film. So I'll shoot like 3. And then your teacher critiques you. And then I wasn't mature enough to take it constructively. It ended up feeling more personal. And then you see one of your one of your classmates do something amazing. You're like, how did you do that? I'm not telling you.
Yeah.
What? That's what we're here for. Yeah, but you know, that's my thing. If I show you how to do it, then I might not get as good of a grade. Yeah. Like, oh, come on. So I wish I had gone your route and taken a marketing degree.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so you leave college. You're done with college.
Yeah.
And are you still in contact with was it Erica?
Yes.
And so is that how you start really getting some of the larger clients? Because I'm looking at the list of clients. I'm going to list a few here real fast.
Oh yeah.
Amazon, that's pretty big. Outcast, iHeartRadio, Kevin Hart, Ludacris, Tyra Banks, and the list just keeps going on and on and on. And so did you just jump into stuff like that, or did you work your way up to clients like that, or because of your connections with Erica and her connections, did you just hit the ground running and start with some big clients?
So I'm like an all or nothing kind of guy, like with anything and everything that I do. It's you know, it's either you love me or you hate me kind of thing. And people, you know, like people kind of get scared. Like, Marcus, are you sure you want to do this? Like, you know, and I'm like, hey, you know, I'm still young, and if there's anything that could go wrong, I would prefer it be during my 20s or 30s, whatever the case is. So I dove into it. So I started once again in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I was working at a shoot with Kevin Hart in Atlanta. I styled a Big Boy from Outkast. I started with him. This was in Atlanta as well.
And how did that happen? How did that come about?
Yeah, so just based off of me building my portfolio, I always felt like, you know, your net worth is going to be your net worth. So I was always trying to figure out where these cool events with these high rollers are, where, you know, the most prominent people, not high rollers from a financial standpoint, but just more so like, you know, the top dogs, high profile. Yeah, okay. The top dogs within their respective industry. So where are the best photographers at? Where are the best makeup artists? Whatever the case is.
They're on this podcast right now. I'll tell you that.
Okay. So I needed to be in the scene. And because I always felt, although I didn't have anything to show for it, I always felt like I had it. And my thing was, and I think that I'm really, really great at, and, you know, I know we'll get into this later with the whole nonprofit thing, but I feel like I am a great storyteller, and I am able to influence people to a certain, just enough to give me a chance. And then once I get that chance, it's like, I really love this guy. Or, okay, he definitely showed his worth, or whatever the case is. So I would just speak to photographers and be like, hey, you know, to me, I like living in the present and in the future. Like, okay. I understand you have to show a history and show a resume, but also speaking, it's what are you doing now? Are you relevant now? And are you, you know, do you know the trends? Like, just to kind of stay, you know, just kind of, do you know the trends to stay noticeable and stay relevant, but also putting your own spin on it? So
okay.
I was studying, I would spend so much time at like Borders. I think that store is closed now, like the bookstore.
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. So yeah, like literally that was like a decade now. So a decade ago. So I would spend time in Borders just literally looking at magazines for hours and hours and hours and hours of the day, just seeing and trying to draw a relation between the editorials in Harper's Bazaar and editorials in GQ and editorials and whatever the case is. And a lot of my fashion influence comes from overseas magazines such as like Japan and UK and Paris, Italy, things like that.
Okay.
But so when I was able to speak to these people, it was me just really going all in, showing my hands or whatnot, saying like, listen, I know this is trendy right now. And did you see the editorial from such and such? And I think because I knew how to talk the talk, they were more so like, wow, like, you know, this guy's impressive. So, you know, let's definitely give him a chance. And then the hardest part for me, though, although I had the vision and the idea, it was the contacts from stores and from boutiques because I couldn't really pull clothing.
Okay.
So in the boutiques that I did have, pull clothing means like I can borrow their clothes for the photo shoot.
Okay.
Versus buying and returning. Stores hate that and they'll try to blacklist you. But
they really hate it when you just want cash and not store credit.
yeah, that too. Yeah. And that's why now a lot of these stores, and especially boutiques, only implement store credit or just no returns.
Man, jeez.
Yeah.
So those contacts are crucial for you then.
Contacts are always, I think, still to this day, just anything that anyone does, I think contacts are crucial. And so this one gentleman, he's a photographer, a Brazilian photographer. He gave me a chance. I worked with him maybe 5 times before he gave me the opportunity. It was really last minute. I'm not sure if Kevin Hart had a stylist and who could make it or whatever the case is. But so he had the job initially and he was just like, call me last minute. Kevin Hart doesn't have a stylist. Like, what are you doing? I think I had like 3 days to prep for it, which it was almost like code red. Cause I'm like, man, like, what do I do? Like, where do I get clothes?
Even I know that's not a whole lot of time.
Yeah. No.
I mean, man.
Yeah. I mean, gosh. It's literally, it wasn't enough. But I wasn't going to say no.
Well, yeah, no. Hey, because from what I'm hearing from you, the way you think, you got to do it. If the worst you can do is fail, it's not going to kill you.
I hope not. But
well, Kevin Hart now might. Kevin Hart back then, probably not. But
yeah. Well, maybe back then he'll kill me. Now he has too much,
He's got too much on the line now. He can't do that.
Got too much on the line. Yeah. So I styled him. He was very hilarious. And I think and I go in very truthful as well. So I'm not like, I'm this big shot, whatever.
Yeah.
He's asked me how long you been doing this for. And I'm like, a little under a year. And then he, him being funny, he was just like, I don't think, well, what, like, what the,
I can actually picture his face.
What are you doing with me right now? Yeah. Like, what are you doing? Why are you in the same room as me? Like, but in a jokingly manner.
Yeah.
But, he liked it. The images came out really, really well. It was for a publication based in Atlanta. And just from there, and, the photographer and I, we built like a great working relationship. And that's also how I got the opportunity to style Big Boy from Outkast starting there, and then met Andre right after. So just always leveraging and just finding someone who was always better than me and just trying to like figure out how we can work with one another and just giving them my ideas, hopefully to influence them and giving me the opportunity to more so bring me into their world. And that's basically how that happened. And from there, I kind of felt as if I was growing at a very rapid pace, especially for 1 year. Within my first year, already styling like these A-list celebrities.
Yeah.
I wanted to take things up a notch. So one day I just moved to New York. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I think I want to go to New York. She was just like, oh, okay. Kind of like chuckling and laughing. Yeah. She's like, when? I was like, next week. She was just like, what? No, wow. Yeah, literally. I moved to New York in 1 week.
Oh my gosh.
I moved to New York in 1 week. I moved to New York on my birthday at that.
Oh, wow. Well, that's, you know what? That's a great birthday present to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah. Life anniversary, New York anniversary.
Yeah. I'm going to start my career. I'm there. That's my birthday to me, is to go where my career is going to grow.
Yep. And that's where it basically, though, it was very hard for me because I didn't come to New York with, it wasn't a well thought out plan. Once again, like all that kind of guy.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go move to New York next week. Yeah. You probably don't have time to put together much of a plan.
That, and then cost of living is so expensive versus in Atlanta and New York. What I'm paying right now for like a one bedroom apartment, I'll probably have a mansion in Atlanta, with like literally 5-bedroom. Yeah. My friend just bought a house recently in East Atlanta, which is like a very nice area right now. Mm-hmm. And he has like a 4-bedroom house, 2-car garage. He has, I think, 3 levels. Long story short, he's paying like $950 a month.
Oh,
and I'm like, $950. That can give me closet space in New York.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, living in New Jersey, I used to go to New York. I had friends that lived in New York. A couple of friends that tried to break into modeling and stuff, and they would all go into New York and even back then it was ridiculous. $950. I mean, you'd have to you'd have to get a couple other people to share that closet with you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Seriously, yeah. So moved to New York, but I knew I wanted to just be in the area because I'm very competitive, and I feel like once I put myself in that environment, I'm always going to excel. And this is me once again, just knowing like never giving up, cutting hair from being horrible at it to now being great at it to, I feel as if I'm great at it. I think I am. I really feel like I am. But from
I feel
that
like I should get my cut right now.
And even like basketball, when I first started, I was good. I was always good in basketball naturally, but football, I wasn't.
Okay.
And I was a wide receiver, but I just kept practicing. I became better. So, and even with my communications class. So I just kind of looked at my life overall in the past at this specific time. Like, when have I really ever failed? I made a lot of mistakes, but the only time I failed is when I really, if I were to have quit something.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Once again, I'm still young and let's do it. So I just packed my bags, moved to New York. And then from there is how it was all or nothing. It was sink or swim, like literally. It was me having to go put myself out there, me having to continually finding areas where these influential people would be, where I knew I was getting invited to like these galas or these GQ events, but me just dressing up, walking in front of that door, walking in front of the person who's checking the list. Mm-hmm. Hey, what's your name? Marcus John, looking on the list. Where you at? On the list. Sorry. And me looking around like, you sure? Check it again. John Marcus, got two first names, kind of weird. Check it again. Checking it again, not on there. And me saying like, well, making a joke like, well, I didn't dress up for no reason. I'm like who's running the door? Like, who's the PR? So just kind of pressuring them. And I noticed that in New York is when someone tells you no, especially at a door, and you just say, okay, or just kind of start to panic or become nervous, then it's just like, okay, he doesn't belong here. Yeah. But if you're just standing firm, like, no, check it again. They're looking at you. Okay, this guy must be someone and it must be our mistake. Let him in.
Look, performance anxiety tip. Don't get performance anxiety in front of somebody at the door.
Yeah, that and just with a lot of things, just don't take no for an answer. If you feel like you belong somewhere, just keep at it. And I started going into these big events and, getting people's business cards, networking, and just slowly but surely leveraging every single relationship that I had.
So I've heard stories similar to this with people in different industries where music. I had figured I'd go up and go to LA or go to New York. I mean, and you did it probably faster than most people. What you said you didn't have much of a plan, but you had to find some place to live. How did were you just living in a hotel for a little while, or how do you go for
park? There was a park bench. No, so I knew one friend here, and he lived like deep in Queens though. So it was like I wasn't even in New York.
Oh, but wow, yeah.
I was like, I'm in the state of New York, and
you're in one of the boroughs.
Like I'm in one of the boroughs, and I'm like, I'm closer than Atlanta. So it would take me like an hour to get to maybe an hour, 30 minutes, whatever, to get to where I need to be, wherever, Midtown New York or downtown, whatever. But I stayed with him for maybe, I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then this is me just every day. And this is at the time when Craigslist was safe. And not to say it's not safe now, but looking for an apartment, should I say.
There were fewer murders.
There were fewer murders. Yeah. And I found a spot on Craigslist, and, a week and a half later, he was like, Marcus, you don't have to move out this quickly. I understand that you're out here, because I didn't move with a job, Right. I haven't had a job. My last job that I had, so my first job that I had, my official first job, rather than cutting my hair, I was a mechanic. I was a mechanic.
Wow.
Which is, so also a Jamaican stereotype. Most men are mechanics, right?
Is it? That one I don't know. That's a new one for me. I didn't know most Jamaicans are stereotypically mechanics. I don't even think that's a real sentence.
We own restaurants. So point. So and then it was at a young age. I was 17 years old. So I was just more so, dumping the oil from the oil changes. I was checking for car batteries, making sure there's enough energy there, and just more of the light work.
Right.
And then I would just always shadow when I see someone taking out a transmission. And so I was there for like maybe like a year, and I was working like part-time and whatnot. And it was like a friend of a family. So, that was like my first real job I had paychecks. And then my last job that I had was I used to work for Apple. So I was like, yeah, and that was like,
that's a change.
28 years ago. Yeah. 8 years ago. I was, that was my last job that I've had, and just been a full-time entrepreneur since. And I just knew once again, so not to say I had pride or anything, but I just don't like I don't like being an inconvenience or feeling as if I'm an inconvenience to someone. Okay. And he never made me feel that way at all. But I'm just more so like, listen, if I'm going to do it, once again, it's all or nothing. I'm going to have to do it. And I didn't want to become content. I didn't want to become comfortable where it's like, okay, well, now if I didn't get this job or if I didn't get this, but I'm okay because I'm not paying rent or I'm not, rather than if you just dive into it, rent's due. So you have to make something happen.
Yeah. And then you're under a lot more pressure, and
exactly.
you'll give in to something that's going to help you get that paycheck that you're going to need. So
yeah, exactly. So and like they say, let the pressure of friction polish you, not destroy you.
Ooh,
so
like that.
I always, So when times are rough, like they say, pressure makes diamonds and whatnot. So I literally, I just always kept the macro vision. And I just didn't take any jobs where I needed. Don't get me wrong. I was thinking like, should I become a dishwasher? Just for a week, just to make sure I make rent.
Yeah.
And and it was crazy and just kind of going off track just a bit. But I would turn down jobs still, even when I was broke, because they just didn't really line up with my macro. And I remember having a call with my mom once. She was like, Marcus, you need money in order to live and pay rent, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it's a BS job. I feel like it's disrespectful. You might as well pay me for free. I might as well ask me to do it for free. But yeah, and every man makes their own choices. So
that's true. That's true. So you're out hustling, working, getting in front of the doorman every night. What's your first big break in New York?
My first big break was, so I was always stylish. And the great thing about fashion is, although I can be dead broke, my bank account can be not even $0, but negative whatever.
I've been there.
I always looked great because I would always get free clothes. So from designers, because I've always had like a distinct style and they always wanted me to like represent their brand or whatever the case is. And this is when Instagram was booming. So I knew a couple of photographer friends who would just take street style shots of me, whatever the case is. So my first big break, Lacoste actually was doing a creative campaign where they featured select individuals. I want to say it was only like 3 people from New York. It was in just different countries.
Okay.
So they featured me to become or to be one of their influencers for the entire campaign, which it was a year campaign. I was in an exhibition in South Korea. I was all throughout their website where they told my story, a small little bio about me.
Oh, wow.
Long story short, that led to me now and them checking my workout. Because in between, when I first moved to New York, I was test shooting still just to build my portfolio and things like that.
Okay.
And I fell in love with set design. Once again, it's although I am a creative director, but it's just the storytelling part, whether it be visually, whether it be whatever the case is. So I used to set design or I used to help the set designer for my shoots. So the Lacoste individual at the time, I forgot her title, but she was just like, oh, I got to introduce. She was like, oh, this. So she was going through my work. This at the time I had an iPhone, and she was going through my work on my phone. I had it in my photo album, and she was just like, oh my gosh, like your environments or your set design is beautiful here. Like, who does this? Like, because we have a shoot coming up for a new fragrance that we're about to launch, and we're looking for like a designer. So if you could put me in contact. And I was like, well, I actually did that one, which I actually did, that specific one.
Yeah.
And she was just like, wow. She was like, do you set design? And I'm like, I can.
Yeah.
I never, not yet.
What do you think? Look at this.
Yeah, exactly. She gave me that opportunity. And that led to, also you're a stylist. So not only did I did the set design for that entire fragrance launch, but they had like mannequins where they had like where they were wearing Lacoste because they came out with like a new line for men at the time. So I styled their mannequins, and I also did the set design from there. And then that led into me having like a interior design / set design type of jobs, where that's how the Amazon came about, where I did like Amazon fashion was huge. They were first launching actually. So I did I did their entire Amazon fashion like launch party, as well as I did it was like another random event that they did as well. So from there, it just like literally just kept going and going. And then I worked with Tyra Banks, where I did like the entire coordination, where I booked the entire team or whatnot. It was for a publication. It was actually for a cover shoot as well. Okay. And then I also assisted with the styling on that. So
is that how you rolled into photography? Was it a similar story?
So photography, I wouldn't even call myself a photographer, to be honest with you. But me being a creative director and me venturing off and exploring the city, I always like to capture the things that I see so I can better visually explain to the photographer, whoever I were to book, whether it be for a brand or if it's for a publication or whatnot. Mm-hmm. I need to be able to describe it to them better.
Right.
And once again, I didn't go to school for photography. I didn't go to school for fashion or anything. So my terminology is not always spot on. So I like to just say, here, look, this is what I mean. You know what I mean? So,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I started. And then from there, it's just, I just kind of grew and fell in love with environmental photography. And I started doing still life photography just a bit. But I wouldn't, once again, call myself a photographer in any kind of way. But I do have the vision, and I know exactly how I want it to look. Okay. And then I just more so work with photographers or whatnot. So,
well, I've seen your work, and as a person who studied photography, it's impressive. It's very,
thank you.
Technically, it's very, very well composed. Exposures are great. Everything looks very, very good. In fact, looking on the website, I think they're almost even better on the website than the prints that I've seen, which is kind of backwards in my mind, because I grew up in a time where digital was brand new, and every time when Photoshop came out, everything looked like Max Headroom, and like, with stupid 80s, everything looked like South Park on Photoshop. Yeah. Photoshop was awful, but I think you're doing great work. So
thank you.
That and I guess the work that I've seen is through your foundation, Straightforward. How did that start up? How did you get involved? Or is that your foundation? Did you found it and create it from the ground up? And how did you get? Well, I guess the best thing to say is, what is it about?
Yeah. So Straightforward Foundation. So this is now me in my prime of styling and creative directing. And this is me now having my resume and portfolio reflecting from Tyra Banks to Kevin Hart to Outkast to GQ to Vogue. And I was fresh off of a Harper's Bazaar cover that I did. So I was very like prominent, like in my prime. Like I was like, okay, guys, like I'm established now.
I'm here.
I mean? Yeah, I'm here, guys. So, and now I was getting invites to the parties. I didn't even have to crash them anymore. So I definitely feel like I was here.
Your name was actually on the list.
My name was actually on the list. Yeah, and they gave me +5s. They gave me +2.
Wow.
I was like, all right, guys, I'm not even only on the list, but I can bring other people now. But I felt as if I was becoming. It was like a robotic approach, not approach, but I became robotic, sort of say, because although I was getting these big covers and editorials and working with these huge companies, I was like in a rat race, because I was like, okay, what's next? I just got this. What's next? I just got that. What's next? What's next?
Right.
And it just became too quickly. Like I literally, and I remember my sister was like, Marcus, are you actually sitting down and appreciating and valuing all these blessings that you're getting? And I was just like, because I would tell her, she would tell me, Marcus, oh my God, I see you got the cover of Harper's Bazaar, da da da. Because it came to a point where I didn't even tell like not even certain people, not purposely, but I would just put it on Instagram or I put it on Facebook, and then I'd be working on my next thing coming. So people would call me, oh my, I just seen that you had a cover. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, I did. That was like 3 weeks ago. Because although, the shoot happened a month or 2 months sometimes, I just put it out once I was able to do it.
And you're already on your next thing.
That's past tense. I'm working on my next 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, that was a pass, whatever, but I'm about to da. So, but she was just like, you need to really sit down and you need to just appreciate and live in the present, live in the moment. And then, so although she told me that at a specific time, I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'll call you back. But it still stuck with me. You know what I mean? It was just like, she's right. Like, she's right. Because I was always, what's next? And I feel like I lost it wasn't fulfilling to me.
Okay.
And I didn't really start with a purpose. I just knew I was great at styling. I knew I was great at coming up with visual stories and creative directing and things like that. And because I had so much fun with it, I really kept going. But I didn't have a purpose like, oh, I'm going to use this to save the world or whatever the case is. Or I want to become the best at it. It was just, I was great at it. I had talent.
And you're like doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and at a high level too at that. And, moving from Atlanta to New York to competing with some of the best in the world and being able to compete with them now. And, so I knew I had a gift. And from the Straightforward Foundation now, that came about. I have a friend, and this is when I first moved to New York. I felt like I met her. And so I've been in New York now for 5 years. And when I met her, it was like a year after, and she has scoliosis, but I never knew that up until like 2 years of me knowing her. So she had a gala to attend, and she was like, hey, Marcus, can you style me for the gala? I love your work. I know you're going to, make me look flawless, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, perfect. Why don't you actually come to a set that I shoot? And being that I was a creative director, I can kind of call the shots more so I can venture off if I need to, whatever the case is.
All right.
So she came to the set when I'm thinking gala. So I'll pull like, shoulderless dresses, backless dresses, just to accentuate like the neck, the back line, really make her just look very sexual, like very sexy, very in a tasteful manner and just elegant. Like I wanted her to really just like, what are you wearing? People just stare at her. You know what I mean? So put all this stuff, and she came to the set. And once I, taking out of the bags, and I had a few assistants at that specific shoot, steaming the clothing, everyone was like, oh my God, like, am I going to wear this? Or is this going to be used in the shoot? And me knowing and feeling like, at this time, I felt like I knew what I was doing with my career, and I knew what looked good and what looked great. So, so she was just like, so I knew the clothing looked really, really great. And so she comes in and she's looking through the clothing and, oh my God, this is gorgeous. I love this, da, da, da. But then she'll kind of take it off the rack, turn it towards the back. She sees that the back is exposed. She's like, but I don't know if this will look good on me. So she puts it back. And then another one. Oh, this is great. I love the color. I love the shape, whatever. Look towards the back. Say the shoulders and the back is showing. This may not fit me that well, though. And then just really coming up with an excuse for the rest of the pieces that I had, which was like maybe 12 at the time, which was a lot. So I was like, hey, what you see here on the rack, and I had like a dress in my hand, what you see here on this hanger could look completely different from when you actually put it on. Try it out. And then everyone, like all the other models and the makeup artists and my assistants were like, yeah. Like, what's wrong with you? Try this on, So she then says, hey, do you mind if I speak to you in the back? So at the time, I was like, okay, because once again, I'm Jamaican. So we're known for being blunt. We're known for being like, ruthless with like the truth. So I was literally just started questioning myself and backtracking the entire conversation. And when she first came to the shoot, and even when I was calling or texting her, like, did I say anything wrong?
You thought you were in trouble.
What? I thought I was in trouble. I definitely thought I was in trouble. So then she brings me in the back and she's like, hey, I absolutely love everything that you have. I'm like a huge fan of yours. And when she's saying but and she's speaking, a tear literally falls from her eye. And I'm like, okay. Now I'm like, okay, I know I did something now. Like now I know, like this is what did I do? So she starts crying, and fast forwarding to the story, she tells me she has scoliosis. And once again, I have an athletic background from basketball, football. I knew the term, but I didn't know exactly what scoliosis was and how it affects the human body. Mm-hmm. So then she's like, here, I'll show you. So then she lifts like her back up or the back of her shirt up to show me. And she is living with a 65-degree curvature on top and then like a 35 on the bottom. So it's very severe.
That's pretty severe.
If anyone knows. Yeah. And when I saw that, though, I just more so instantly looked at it as more of a beautiful uniqueness than like a deformity. And something just clicked. Like my creative mind was just like, this week I can really highlight and feature this and show, this condition more so, once again, as a beautiful uniqueness. And so I was asking her just a bunch of questions, like, and even thinking of my own self, like, why haven't I ever seen any other huge campaign, or not even why haven't I seen a huge campaign for scoliosis in this condition? I've seen like the ALS, I've seen and I know a lot of people with like, say, back problems, see commercials with that, but just nothing specifically to scoliosis.
Right.
Your AIDS, your breast cancer, things of that nature. I was like, I want to do something that is on that same level, but just very creative and very artistic and very fashionable with, which is like my background. So Straightforward Foundation, that's how that came about. And the name Straightforward, funny enough, is, ideally one would want their spine to be straight. And not only is scoliosis a physical condition, but it's also a mental condition. And once again, I'm a very solution-based person and a positive thinker. So I'm always thinking, like, how can we move forward? So straightforward. And also being that my heritage is Jamaican, we're very straightforward and blunt people. Right. So straightforward and
I'm
straightforward.
Learning that.
So that's how, yeah. So that's how the name Straightforward Foundation came about. And we highlight and celebrate very influential people who have scoliosis and, in the future, other back or spinal deformity, should I say, where we celebrate and highlight their stories within a gallery-like setting. And I partner with other fashionable brands. One, Alex Anani, which is like $1 billion jewelry brand. Right. They're one of my main sponsors. Now K2M. I have Scoliosis Research Society, SRS. And I'm looking, I don't want to drop any names now, but I'm also looking for other designers who I'm in talks with as well to be partners and sponsors. And it's just spreading awareness, educating, it's designing for Alex Anani, and then having a bracelet on. Someone, I love that bracelet. What is it? Oh, this right here. When you purchase it, proceeds go back to Straightforward Foundation, which raises awareness, whatnot. So, and our mission statement is to improve the quality of life of individuals affected by scoliosis through empowerment, education, preventative care. So we definitely I feel like we're onto something. It's a very refreshing and it's a new idea and approach with how we're taking the medical industry in this condition on. So as of right now, we've been very blessed as a foundation where our first year within our campaign is the I Am Straightforward campaign. That's like our hashtag and like our phrase. It's like owning anything that you're going through, just really just not even owning, but thriving from it, whatever you're going through in life or whatever the case is. Like, I am straightforward, I am brave, I am courage, or confident. So it's just really, once again, owning that. And we had a beautiful photo exhibition last year, and it was like had a kickoff gala night, and Huffington posted like an amazing write up on us. And that was still till this day.
I saw that the photos from that. I believe that it's from the same photos that I saw. And what struck me, it was the subject matter. I mean, and the subject matter is scoliosis, but the subjects of the artwork. And you've got a teacher in her late 60s. You've got a young boy in elementary school, and you can imagine that. But what amazed me was 2 Victoria's Secret models, an art director who's pregnant, and a dancer. And if you know anything about scoliosis, just a little bit, you know it's a spinal deformity, and you don't picture Victoria's Secret models, dancers, art directors. You always see the young kid affected, but it's usually in a foreign country, or the older lady who's had it for years and years. And you don't see the people who are living with it day to day or who've had some kind of corrective surgery, but there's, scarring and things that maybe they're not happy about showing. And your artwork it focuses on it in an artistic way and shows that, you can do something that's creative, that's beautiful, even with this condition. It's not, it doesn't have to be a handicap to what you want to do in life.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, I'm really big on just diversity, just coming from where I'm from and being able to be accepted and introduced to specific industries and just friendships and brands or whatever the case is. So I hold diversity very dear to my heart. And when I was looking and researching other scoliosis campaigns, if I found anything, like how you said, it was just young teenage girls. And it was more so just predominantly Caucasian individuals, just more so telling the story, or if they had the surgery or whatever, because surgery is really, really expensive. So yeah, those were the ones that were coming out and saying, I had scoliosis, but I got the surgery, whatever the case is. But then in the real world, though, a lot of more individuals are living with scoliosis that are still non-surgical than surgically treated. So I wanted to be able to really show all walks of life, whether you had the surgery, whether you didn't, whether you're Latina, whether you're Black, whether you're Asian, whether you're white, whatever the case is. And I feel as if I reflected that from a racial standpoint in my first year's campaign. And not only just with race, but from age, from profession, from what else? So just inclusively and collectively, should I say, diversity from all angles and from everything in general. So, and then it was the first of many. So it was, my campaign was the first to ever display a pregnant woman living with scoliosis, as well as Lindsay Ellingson, one of the supermodels that I had featured. That was her first time she's ever showed her back in a photograph. And she's a supermodel and she's been modeling her entire life. She's never had an image shown of her back. Wow. So at my foundation or at my first year's campaign, that was the first time she's ever done that. The older woman as well. So it was, I was very proud of how the success turned out. And this year, we plan on just really, really going bigger and just really, once again, I'm all or nothing, where I'm in talks with one of the directors over at the Juilliard School, which will be producing a benefit dance as well. Oh, and, once again, I always try to go for the top dog. So, people like Marcus, Juilliard though? I'm like, yeah, Juilliard. You sure? Like, you sure you want to do this? I'm sure I want to do this. Like, all I can get is a no. And coincidentally, she has scoliosis as well. So, this is dear to her heart too. So it's, I have a lot of stuff coming up. I don't want to give too much details because we're still in the works right now, but I partnered with this amazing painter. His name is Michael Norton, where he just created a huge piece for us. It's like 7 foot. Yeah, it's like 7 feet long and like 7 feet. It's crazy. So we'll be displaying that. Hopefully you'll be there too. Our exhibition or our gala night opening party is going to be in September. We're still working on a date, but either September 6th or 7th. But we'll be unveiling his piece there, as well as we're shooting new individuals and new participants and influential advocates for this year's campaign, which is our second annual. So yeah, a lot of great stuff coming, and I'm just excited. That's fantastic.
I have one question for you about the subject matter, though. I noticed, and you're always hearing about, just like you had mentioned, it's usually teenage girls, young girls with scoliosis, and there was one young boy in your artwork.
Naslin.
Yes. Amazing story, wonderful story, and I encourage everybody. What's the website that people can go to read the stories?
Yes, so my website is www.straightforwardfoundation.org. All right. That's once again straightforwardfoundation.org.
So I noticed that he's the only male. Is it harder to find men with scoliosis, or is it harder to get them to open up and talk about it, or even show whatever surgeries they've had? Because It does. I know it affects men. I actually, when I was little, I have very minor scoliosis, non-surgical. I don't have to have any surgery or anything. But when I was I guess I was like 12 years old, and you know how they have you bend over and do that test and check your spine.
Yeah.
They said you got a little bit of scoliosis. It's not going to be bad. It's not going to affect anything really. I'm using that as my excuse as to why I'm only 5'6". So
okay,
all right. That's part of the reason. But it could be my mom's 5'2". That may be another reason. But is it harder to get men to be the subject of the stories and the artwork?
So, funny enough, I actually didn't reach out to a lot of men at all. I reached out to two, one of them being Usain Bolt, which is, Marcus,
wow.
You sure you can do this? Yeah, I'm sure. So he actually has scoliosis. And I feel like there was a direct relation. He's Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. I'm doing a scoliosis campaign. He has scoliosis. But I didn't get a reply. So if you're listening to this, Usain Bolt, if you're listening to this right now with the millions of followers and viewers that you have, Mark, you know, but after
maybe you retweet my link, I'm hoping we'll get that.
All right. Okay. But scoliosis actually affects women 8 times more than men. So although men and women can both have it and say it's like an equal number, but women, it becomes more debilitating to them where they have to get the surgery or their curvatures more so progress at a very more rapid rate or higher rate or whatever the case is.
Okay.
So I wanted to shoot once again what is more reflective in reality, sort of saying. I know that, you know, more women are affected by it. So that's why I chose. But this year I actually have two men, very influential individuals that I'll be featuring. So
excellent. Do you encourage people to reach out to you with their stories, or are you more reaching out to people with higher profiles to bring attention to it?
So I'm actually working on so for my photo exhibition, I will always have, and you know, everyone's story is unique. Everyone's influential to me, and everyone is hearing their story is motivating to me. But I try to feature people who can, like, not always celebrities, but just who can either, one, say they have a big social media following, because at the end of the day, numbers do count, and the message can get out, you know, on a grander scale. If, you know, say Lindsay Ellingson once again, or the Martha Hunts can retweet or Instagram post, whatever the case is, and even the art director amongst her friends. So being that I'm so new, I'm trying to leverage as much as I can in order to continue to build and generate awareness. So, and then also, you know, the photos, those, and not even just from a financial aspect, but those are very expensive as well.
Oh yeah.
So just featuring, like, the photos alone, I think was like $10,000 just for printing them. Yeah. So,
well, they're very large.
The photos,
they're very large.
Yeah. They're big. They're 4 feet by 5 feet. So, So, and then I'm also creating a new campaign, which I'll be calling the Street Exhibition, where I'll feature individuals from all over the world. And, you know, just as long as you have scoliosis and you are thriving, or just even trying to, not even just, okay, I am the most positive person, whatever the case is, but as long as you're trying and as long as you're not letting it defeat you, I want to feature you. I want to hear your story and work with you. So, and within our street exhibitions, we hope to feature like 30 to 40 individuals at a time.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, look, I've kept you quite a long time tonight. I really do appreciate your time. Where can people follow you and your career and Straightforward Foundation? How can they follow you on social media and get up with you if they want to share their stories about scoliosis?
Yeah, so please reach out in regard to following up or reaching out to me from a scoliosis standpoint. Please follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram and Facebook page is Straightforward Foundation. Our hashtag is I am straightforward. You can find us there as well. And I check those. I check our hashtag mentions all the time. And personally, my Instagram is Style Marcus John. That's John. So it's Style Marcus John. My personal Instagram is, you can check who I've been styling or working with or creating for the latest, and just a little more personally about me or whatever the case is. And my personal website is www.stylemarcusjohn.com. So you can check out some of my creative directing work and styling work.
All right. Man, I appreciate you coming on.
And it was a pleasure speaking to you, Mark. I had a wonderful time, and
thank you, man.
I look forward to seeing your success and interviewing you on a podcast, probably.